Greetings and salutations. Good morning, evening, or afternoon, Dota fans. Welcome into this broadcast of the G-1 Champions League Western Qualifier. We're down to the nitty-gritty, and we've got a rematch on our hands between Team Liquid and Evil Geniuses. It's win or go home for these two squads, and the last time they squared off, EG came out ahead. Now, Evil Geniuses, there's a myriad of words we can use to sum up EG and their run through G1 so far. Cinderella, darling, surprise, upset, stunning. But the only word that really matters in the long run is win. And that's something EG has reminded us that they still know how to do as well as anyone on the planet. Bounced out in the first round in an ugly loss to Absolute Legends. They were given a second chance when AL was forced to withdraw, sending EG into the second round to take on their North American rivals, Team Liquid. EG came out firing and hung a goose egg on them, winning 2-0 in a win that may as well have been a welcome back party. From there, they stumbled again, though, dropping to Fnatic 2-0 and finding themselves once again facing elimination in the lower bracket and once again facing a North American squad in Dignitas. Again, EG was able to dig deep and find their form, blanking a Dignitas squad many considered to be a hard-running dark horse to find themselves in China when all was said and done. Now the only word that matters to EG isn't a word at all, but a number. 2. 2 more series. If they win 2 more times, they'll have accomplished what many would have said was impossible, a return to glory and the top of the Western Hill. But to get there, they'll have to do something no team has done to Team Liquid throughout the entirety of 2013. That's beat them in 3 consecutive best-of-3 meetings, which would be a fairy tale ending even for an established Cinderella. Liquid, well, their path through the G1 Champions League so far has been one of highs and lows, victory and tragedy, dominant wins and stunning losses. It started back in round 2, where their bye landed them and where they were originally awaiting an Absolute Legends team, which had just been bounced out, or just had bounced out an Evil Geniuses squad many had all but written off as a former top team playing like a middle-tier team at best. Then Absolute Legends suddenly withdrew, giving EG a second chance, a chance they didn't squander when they shocked everyone by beating Liquid for the second time in 3 days. From there, Liquid bounced back strong, completely demolishing Kaipi in the lower brackets first round and advancing to take on Na'Vi, who stumbled against Alliance in the winners bracket semifinals. In a match just a day after their invitation to the International 3 was made official news, Liquid showed the world the invitation was well-deserved with what this broadcaster would argue was their most dominant and impressive performance the team has ever seen since its creation. Now, they meet their rivals, the Evil Geniuses of North America, for the 3rd time in a week. EG has won both of those previous meetings and will be looking to make it a hat trick here today and do something that has never been done. Defeat Team Liquid in 3 consecutive meetings. Liquid, though, is fresh off of a big win, and they'll be looking to keep that feat unaccomplished. Now, back to the game. Liquid and EG, we can see the picks and the bans coming fast and furious. The bans, Bad Rider and Wisp banned out by Liquid, and EG going to be taking out the Lone Druid as well as the Magnus. Liquid lands themselves a Nyx Assassin and a Clockwork. No surprise to see that much priority put onto the Clockwork, especially with the Lifestealer on the board, but really given Liquid's proficiency at running that hero and just how damn good Bulba happens to be on Rattletrap, seeing him come out this early from Liquid in any circumstance isn't a surprise, but of course Clockwork a fantastic counter to Lifestealer, the ability to get on top of him, cogs him in, and not let him do what a Lifestealer wants to do, which is focus fire at target and just look to maraud around the battlefield. EG, though, picking a very aggressive lineup. They've got the TA, the Lifestealer, and the Rubik. And I'll tell you what, man, you want to talk about some good Rubik play? Go watch EG yesterday. Fear was an absolute monster on that hero and really was the turning force in that entire match against Dignitas. Now, a couple of things also worth mentioning. We are going to have Bambo back in action. He's going to be standing in for B-Diz. And while I have a moment, I do want to say this. B-Diz is a great guy. I don't know what's going on with him. He's been absent for a few matches now, and if you follow him on Twitter like I do, you can tell he's having some struggles, something's going on. It's none of my business directly, but I do want to send him all my love and best wishes. He's a great guy, a guy I consider to be a friend and colleague, and I think you guys should remind him as well that you're happy to have him in the scene. So if you happen to follow him on Twitter, tweet him some well wishes and let him know that we're all looking forward to seeing him back in action soon. But Liquid anyway going to go ahead and round out their front 3 with the Gyrocopter. Very strong pick, a hero that can run in a variety of roles. You can run him as a support, run him as a carry. Generally speaking, when Liquid lands the Gyro, they're going to put TC on, and that's a hero TC is excellent at playing, really knows the hero's limitations, knows how to handle him, especially whenever he's given solo lane farm. And what I mean by that is Liquid generally, and this is just over the last few weeks, The few times I've seen them draft the Gyrocopter, they really like to try and form an offensive tri lane that'll free up that solo safe lane farm for the Gyrocopter. Now, with the Nyx Assassin and the Clockwork, they actually can be 2/3 of an offensive tri lane. They can be very, very effective. When you look at what EG already has, they've got Lifestealer and Rubik, two very aggressive supports. Very easy to play aggressive when you can rely on Telekinesis to pull someone towards you. Then Lifestealer can follow with the open wounds. You're going to have the Rock that is TA in mid. So a lot of options still open on both sides, at least as of right now. Really looking forward to seeing how this game is going to take shape here through the early phases of the draft. One more reminder, again, while we have just a moment, is that Brax from LGD International was supposed to be here with me for the initial morning broadcast. Unfortunately, he's a little bit delayed. He is on his way home from Shanghai, where they just had a photo shoot. So he will be here sometime soon. Hopefully, he'll be here in time for Game 2 of this series. If not Game 2, certainly Game 3 if there happens to be a Game 3. And 100% he'll be here for our second series of the day. So all of you Brax fanboys and fangirls, and aren't we all really Brax fanboys and fangirls, all of you who showed up looking for Brax, very sorry about that. But if you stay patient and hang around, he should be here sometime very, very soon. So looking at the follow-up bans out of Liquid, we got a Clinks and an AA being banned down here. Now, I don't mind that Clinks ban at all. We saw Jo really put on a dominant show with Clinks in their series yesterday. And, you know, I had Merlini on for the broadcast, and he and I talked quite a bit about it. You know, whenever you see a Clinks played, most of the time it's feast or famine. You know, either Clinks gets a good start and, you know, he ends up with 15 kills or something silly. That's what you know as the Funnick Clinks. Whenever Funnick gets his hand on the Clinks, that tends to be the way things pan out. Or, you know, he gets focus fired, he has a bad lane, a bad start, he's ganked, he's not really successful, and he's just basically a non-factor on the map. But Jo played Clinks in a way that really you don't see that much just because of how volatile the hero and his playstyle happens to be. But what Jo did was his job. That's all he did. He just slowly farmed himself an Orchid. Wasn't the earliest Orchid in history. And then he just kind of pushed around the map. He didn't spend a lot of time in the enemy jungle. He had a few ganks here and there. But for the most part, his job was simply to be a big source of damage whenever they needed it the most. The ability to focus fire one target with strafe in team fights was really what he was focused on, more so than trying to rack up a big kill score. And in the end, that combined with how easy it is for Clinks to split push with Skeleton Walk being such an excellent escape mechanism was all that EG really needed to keep things stable throughout the game and keep things within reach, because they were behind in that game for quite some time. And in the end, it was just exactly what EG needed. And Liquid obviously studying that out and looking at where Clinks would fit into this lineup, the fact that an offensive tri-lane could very well be assembled out of a Lifestealer and a Rubik, with TA in mid, of course, being a very aggressive mid-game hero. Just not wanting to risk that. We're also going to see the Storm Spirit banned out. Really like that ban as well, making sure there's no Nakes Bomb that can be, at least not a Nakes Bomb in the traditional sense. There's a lot of heroes that Lifestealer can infest into and used to get into the fight. Templar Assassin is a very popular one just because she's almost always going to have a Blink Dagger. And now we have Nature's Prophet picked up, and this is a play style I've seen EG run a few times. There's a few teams that really like this. Getting the Prophet with, you know, again, talking about the Nakes Bomb, the mobility inherent in TA, usually going to build something like Phase Boots or Treads, and we talked a bit with Merlini about why Treads are beginning to be a bit more popular for TA. It has to do with the Tread toggling to mitigate the mana nerf on refraction in that mid position. But either way, she's going to have mobility. Once she gets a Blink Dagger, she's going to look to play aggressive, and that's a natural fit with a Lifestealer who does traditionally have a little bit of trouble getting on a target against the team skilled enough to kite him out, especially when you have a Clockwork already on the squad. So you're going to have that method of getting Lifestealer around. Then you're going to have him with a global presence, because he can infest into the Nature's Prophet, who can teleport him to any point on the map, set up ganks that way, which is a very creative way to use that hero. And as we can see, I mean, EG is just all in on mid-game damage. TA, Lifestealer, very, very worrisome combination if you're in Team Liquid shoes. And they're going to have to watch the Roche pit very, very early. I mean, Nature's Prophet, TA, and Lifestealer, to be honest, they could just about try a level 1 Roche. They literally, really, really could take a chance on that, so that's something we'll keep in mind. With Lifestealer, of course, being able to skill either Feast or Open Wounds, depending on what he wanted. A TA's armor reduction on a first point in the meld with Nature's Prophet's Treants able to tank Roshan. That's something that very easily could be done. So Liquid, very crafty in their own right, though. I wouldn't be surprised to see them take a little time to scout that Roche pit. And, you know, Clockwork can certainly do so easily with Rocket Flare, and that in and of itself might be enough to keep EG from trying something that chancy. But again, just things to keep on the board. We're going to see EG go ahead and take away 2 heroes Fluff absolutely loves to play in Shin and Enchantress. I'll tell you what's surprising is seeing Keeper of the Light make it all the way through to the second ban phase. He does eventually get banned out, but still another hero they're happy to have to take out of the mix and not give away to Team Liquid. And, you know, when I look at Liquid's lineup, one thing they're going to have going for them is they're up against an Evil Geniuses team that's going to want to fight and push quite a bit early. I mean, unless they pick up a very late game, yeah, I was going to say, unless they do something nuts to pick up a late game carry instead of a final support, I mean, more or less, they're going to need to win this in the mid game. Gyrocopter can out carry a Lifestealer and a TA in the late game. If he's, you know, all things being equal. But they probably are going to be looking for, no, actually, they're going to get a Shadow Demon. I was going to say, I thought they were going to try to snag themselves another form of damage that would scale well into the late game, but instead, they just get the stability that is a Shadow Demon. And IX Mike played a phenomenal Shadow Demon in Game 1 against Navi yesterday. If you didn't catch that VOD, you damn well should. And you can pop over to my YouTube. It's youtube.com/ACTV. That's definitely, if you're a Shadow Demon kind of a guy or girl, and you want to see someone handle that hero and put him through his paces, a really good game to watch, and one of the best games I've ever seen Team Liquid play as a whole. So looking at the way the lanes are likely to pan out, wouldn't be surprised if we saw just a simple defensive tri-lane here, off-lane Clock, or potentially an off-lane Darkseer. Liquid does like to send Bulba mid on the Clock if they can get away with it, if they feel confident doing it, just because a Clock getting to a quick 6, getting himself some farm, being able to get himself a little bit extra survivability, tank up a bit, makes him just this unbelievable liability throughout all stages of the game. It really becomes a problem whenever you have a Clock that can take the game over at 15, 20 minutes in, and all of a sudden you have a team that wants to fight, but which is going to be locked down. At least one of the 2 big damage dealers out of TA and Lifestealer locked down by a Clockwork. And, you know, we'll run through our lineups, but it is actually going to be Jo farming up our Lifestealer, which is a little bit surprising. And mid, no surprise to see Demon there. But then this kind of comes down to something that's been touched on a lot, talked about a lot. You know, EG is experimenting with their player rules. They are beginning to try people out in different situations. Bambo going to be on the Prophet going to the off lane, and that's been traditionally where Bambo made his living in Dota 2. But, you know, having Jo in more of a farming role now, and, you know, again, that's not something he's totally foreign to, but the big switch, of course, is Fear, who I had mentioned just played an excellent Rubik in his 2 games yesterday. Both of them were really solid performances out of him. So excited to see him back there. But instead of having him in the 1 position, having him in the 4 and 5 position. And, you know, I had Fear on for a broadcast not long ago and had a chance to talk to him briefly about that. And he and I are both in agreement. You know, this has kind of been the theme for the last 2 days. I talked about it a lot with Merlini yesterday as well. Is myself, Merlini, Melk even, I had mentioned it too, as well as Fear, we all agree that more games are won with solid support play than they are with solid carry play. And there's just so much more influence that a support can have on the game in the first 20 minutes than a carry ever can. And of course, late game, it comes down to good decision making out of a carry, and that can often be the make or break moment. That's why you do tend to put very crafty, experienced veterans on your carries, just so their decision making is always there. But the way Dota's played right now, there's just so much more emphasis on the early game, so much more emphasis on the laning phase. You don't see as much 4 Protect 1, at least in the mid game. You see a lot more aggressive push style. And in those phases of the game, solid support play tends to be much more important. So as the laning phase takes shape, let's see who's going to be handling who. Jakiro going to be played by Melk. Not going to lie, Melk was an absolute monster on Jakiro yesterday. And again, check those VODs if you don't believe me. The guy went berserk. We're going to have Lifestealer handled by Jo. As mentioned, TA will be played by Demon, setting up shop here in mid. The stand-in, Sexy Bambo, has actually sacked the off lane and is going to work right in the jungle on the Nature's Prophet. And Fear going to be back on Rubik for the 3rd game in a row here in the G1 Western Qualifier. Up on the other side, Liquid going to have TC farming up the Gyro. He's got supports around him. Korok's actually taking the Darkseer mid. Don't mind this a bit. He can really cause some problems for TA, and we'll get back to that here in a minute. Next Assassin going to be handled by Fluff, the captain, playing in the tri-lane, protecting TC. We're going to have Bulba dropping his cogs and handling the Clockwork. Thought they might have sent him mid, but instead just opting to give Korok a little bit more priority, so he'll be in the off lane in the Shadow Demon. Handled by IX Mike, who I had mentioned really did a great job on Shadow Demon the last time he played him yesterday. So examining these matchups, I mean, obviously it's going to be free farm for the carries. TC is going to be uncontested. We're not going to see much contesting of Jo either. I mean, Bulba does like to play pretty aggressive, but he's mostly just trying to control creep equilibrium more than anything else. Get some creeps under his tower to guarantee some safe and free CS as well as some free experience. Here in mid, Demon versus Korok. Demon should do just fine. I mean, he's a very good TA player. Knows how to handle this. The Ion Shell obviously does cause some problems for him in terms of refraction charges and so on and so forth. But for the most part, I mean, Korok's going to be able to shove as much as he wants. Going to be able to really put some work on in terms of rune controls. We just saw there forcing Bambo to TP to make sure the rune was controlled. But the question's going to be is which team wants to go for a Tier 1 tower first and which team wants to collapse. And as we can see right now, it's beginning to look like Liquid really wants to go ahead and take this first tower, get themselves a little bit of an infusion of gold. We can even see Fluff looping around, going to cut off any sort of path of engagement coming from the Tier 2. And Demon so far doing quite well bottle crowing. And we're going to see some Treants come up. And wow, Jayo's actually going to get first blood. Didn't expect that. I saw it on the mini-map, but Bulba under his own tower is not a hero that you expect to die very often. So missed that one, but Jayo gets off to a real good start getting first blood. Now Bambo has rotated over, but really kind of shut down in terms of how close he can get. And this is just the danger of being up against a Gyrocopter in a situation like this. You can't even really finesse it because he'll just chase you down, especially since he has Tier 1 boots already. Use Rocket Barrage to just melt your health. Rocket Barrage, one of the highest damaging abilities on a single target. Now we're going to have... Oh, never mind. Thought we were going to see a TP. Not going to be the case. But EG, in the meantime, seeing the aggression out of Liquid, they're going to go ahead and push, and they're doing a much better job than Liquid right now. That tower... Oh, never mind. Liquid actually did manage to get a bit more done in the meantime. So both teams trying to bring down the tower here in mid. Looking at this matchup, TA and Darkseer going pretty head-to-head. TA is a little bit ahead, though, and that's not a real surprise. Korok getting plenty of levels, though. He's almost level 5. Same for TA. They're right on top of each other in terms of experience, and really there's not a whole lot more you can ask out of a Darkseer than that. Jayo's already picked up his phase boots. Now, of course, one would imagine it'll be an armlet coming out next. And, you know, looking again at EG's lineup, just the way they're composed, having a Demon who's a playmaker by nature and by... oh, hang on. Disruption going to catch one. Fluff's there, ready to follow it up. Perfectly timed on the impale, and here comes Korok to try and finish him up. Bambo will be able to get away. Able to teleport before the damage could be done. So staring death right in the eye and giving it a buy your leave as he heads back to the well. We're 4.5 minutes in. We got one kill on the board. That one kill belongs to Evil Geniuses. Both Tier 1 towers stand, but one would imagine they're not going to stand for too terribly long anymore. Looking at the supports, level 3 on Milk as well as on Fear. Fluff is sitting at level 2, just about level 3, though. And Shadow Demon is level 3 as well. So all things being equal, it's a pretty break-even right now. Again, TA's doing fairly well against Korok here in mid, but that's really not any kind of big surprise. Tier 1 will end up dropping now, as they do get the creep wave in position. Last hit goes to TC, so we're likely to see reprisal from EG. Jayo making good progress. He's right at the top of the CS board along with TC. And about as even an early game as you could possibly ask for. But again, back to the composition of EG. As good as a Darkseer is, and we can see, I mean, this is just what a Darkseer can do. Now he's taking a bit of a chance. And Demon vacuumed back and cleaned up. Demon hanging around a little too long and pays the price to Korok. Was going to say that Darkseer, as good as he is at this level and at this stage of the game, is much better in a solo and a one-on-one situation than he is in a team fight situation. Now, as he gets his levels, as he gets up some items like a mech, he becomes a team fight monster. But in the early laning phase, he's just a monster of one-on-one. He can cut creeps, he can take chances like that, and rely on his escape in the Surge. And we just saw him abuse it right there, and Demon not respecting it. Ends up paying the price for it in a big, big way. We can now see a Surge on Shadow Demon. We're going to have Demon once again disrupted. This would be a great kill if they can get it. Refraction is popped. And they've got the sentry down. Here comes the TP reaction. The damage just isn't there. Vacuum back, but 2 stacks of Shadow Poison. And now we're going to have Mike caught out. He's taking tower shots as well. Demon wants to re-engage. There's a Surge. Not enough. 1 tower shot. Going to track him down across the river. From downtown, and Demon still up and standing. Better thank his buddies for being there to bail him out. 2-1. EG currently leads over Team Liquid. And this is kind of what I was expecting. I mean, when you look at EG's lineup, they're going to want to fight. Liquid right now is actually doing a good job of putting on pressure, and this is what you want to do to free the map up for a Gyrocopter at this phase. Gyro can fight really well, but as much as you can, you want to have him free farming when he can. Levels are so important to a Gyrocopter right now. Getting up the extra points in a flak cannon, the extra points, especially in a rocket barrage, He's level 6, so he has call down. Getting to a level 2 call down, very important, but mostly it's the rocket barrage. And now Korok going to eat some damage. He's going to be telekinesed. Here comes Mike, though. And that's enough to scare him away. Counter engagement as the disruption and soul catcher go off. Side traps there to slow him down. Vacuum back on fear. He should be safe, though. And Deer with a double demon with a double damage room. Not enough to really put the fear into Liquid. 7 minutes in, Fluffs is hooked back up with TC. Now, I want to watch what TC builds. Is he going to go flat-out survivability, go drums, BKB, that sort of thing? Is he going to do a hybrid build, or is he going to go something crazy like a Shadow Blade? That's very much something an Owie 2000 would do. From Dingatos, for example, really likes a high damage output out of Gyrocopter. TC tends to play a lot more stable. Wouldn't be surprised one little bit to see him go with just a flat-out drums BKB approach. And that's what makes Gyro such an excellent hero in so many ways. Is even going a defensive, more survivability-oriented build, you're still going to have plenty of damage to contribute with Call Down and Rocket Barrage. Flat Cannon isn't anything to sleep on either. I mean, obviously, Flat Cannon gets better as you get more and more damage in terms of your pure right-click. But even early on, just those extra right-clicks that are hitting the supports from a long way away, that can take a toll, especially in the early and mid-game phases, and especially if a mech is delayed, and you don't have that to rely on to get your supports back up and fighting. 8.5 minutes in, 3 kills on the board, 2 belong to EG. Now, a reminder of what's on the line here. This is the lower bracket semifinal. It's win or go home. Whichever team loses will be exiting the G1 with nothing to show for it. And these teams did square off once already in the second round of the winner's bracket, where EG, who at the time was playing well, make no mistake. They had put a few good wins under their belt. But since that time, when they beat Liquid in the winner's bracket and sent them to the lower bracket initially, that was basically the coming out party for this new look Evil Geniuses squad, a team that many thought wasn't playing that well. Now Korok's going to eat a side trap, and here comes Fear. Surge, not enough. He's going to be telekinesis back, and takes a little bit of damage, but Surge still more than enough to get him away. But EG beating Liquid there, they had actually beat them 3 days before that match. So this is EG going for the hat trick against their North American rivals, and Liquid fresh off an invite to the International. So Liquid, or Evil Genius, is very much a team that's on that international bubble. Will they be invited, or will they have to go through the qualifiers? And being able to, as their performance here in G1 has to weigh in their favor. But if they can beat Team Liquid in this setting with this much on the line, after Liquid's been invited, and, I have no idea what, for all I know, Valve's already made that decision. They're just taking their time in actually inviting the teams or announcing them or what have you. But if there's any discussion still open, I mean, aside from the obvious, aside from wanting to win for the sake of it, from wanting to win so you have a chance to go to land at G1, a win here would weigh heavily in Evil Genius's favor if there's still any discussion as to which teams will be invited and which have to go through qualifiers. Taking a look at Bulba, he's got his bottle. He's already up to level 5. Level 6, very important for him for obvious reasons. Having that hook going to give him a lot more reach and a lot more influence on the map. Midas the choice for Bambo. He's got Midas plus a Bassi. Now, Bambo is a hero or is a player who does hold on. Fluff, gonna be ganked down. Here comes the TB. The mill's gonna be there. Carapace comes out late, though. And there's the Sprout. Fluffo very nicely dodged by everyone. Bambo and Demon sidestepping the impale. Don't think it would have mattered. He didn't really have any help on the way to begin with. Liquid instead just going to try and trade the tower as they now know. Oh, jeez, the damage from that ulti. Doing so much to Mike and to Korok. Now we're going to see Korok surging away. And Fear's going to be there. What did he manage to get? Looks like he got Surge. He's going to try to catch one, and he does. Gets Mike. Open wounds is there. Disruption, though, not going to be enough as he's blown up with a meld. And now Korok looks to be the target. Going to Surge himself again. Cluckles in the firing line does manage to make it away, along with the Darkseer. But EG already beginning to flex their muscles here in this game. And with the lineup they drafted, it's no surprise. They're going to want to capitalize on TC, and TC is going to go to the Shadow Blade build. And I mentioned that as an option, even though TC does tend to go much more survivability-oriented, just because of how much firepower EG has at this phase of the game. They have so many ways to punish you. So many ways to start a fight. You know, the range on Ice Path is easy to sleep on. It's easy to forget just how long a distance that is. Same with Telekinesis. Speaking of, Bulba's going to be forced to drop his cogs. There's the Ice Path through the cogs. Open wounds slowed him down to begin with. And now with Bambo there, Bambo's just going to body block him and eat some damage. And Bulba will be cleaned up. Nyx Assassin tries to counter-initiate, but won't be able to find a target with the Impale. And Korok, getting close to his max, is going to have it very soon. That's a big, big item for Liquid, as we're beginning to see the burst damage of EG come to bear. And TC now showing his face down here. Lifestealer does have an armlet, by the way. Shadow Blade is done on TC, so 2 big items out very, very quickly on both sides. We're at 12 minutes in. Let's look at the goal graph for the first time. EG is leading. No surprise there, given the way things have gone. They're ahead 2,000 gold, 1,000 experience is their advantage. But back to what I was saying about Bambo. The question is he going to build a mech or is he going to go right-click? Right now, I don't see a mech in progress on anyone. Check that. Buckler is in the inventory of Jakiro, so Melk will be building the mech. So that's going to free Bambo up to rush a Scythe of Ice, for example. Tell you the truth, looking at the lineup of Liquid, this is another one of those, and you know, I've been using this term, and it's honestly become a bit of a meme, is robust Dota, and I'm going to have to complete that thought here in a minute. As Liquid is moving as a full 5-man team down to bottom, Jo knows something's up. TC playing way too aggressive. We're going to see a TPN from Bambo. Bulba's going to spot it. And there's the Demonic Purge. Melk's there to try and bail him out. Bambo still might be in trouble. Going to do what he can. Here comes the counter initiation. As Liquid is all moving into position, and Jo raged in. Unable to accomplish much. There's a good hook from Bulba. Going to lock him down. Ice Path buys him a little bit of time. Don't think it's going to matter, and it won't as Rocket Barrage is able to melt him down. And I thought for sure EG was going to move as a team to react there. Instead, they feed 2 away. They are just pushing towers in the meantime. The Tier 1 is gone, and we see Fear doing work up at the Tier 1 top as well. Liquid will have no problem locking this down. But, you know, I've been using that term, and it's kind of become a meme. I get it tweeted at me all the time. And TC, wow, took a big chance there. Shows off the Shadow Blade, trying to keep himself alive. The rest of Liquid doesn't seem like they're going to be coming. But when you look at EG's team, you have a team that can serve a lot of roles in and of themselves. You got good disables, good lockdowns, good ways, you know, a ton of great ways to start a fight. And that's really what, you know, I've struggled to put it into words. But when I say a team composition feels robust to me, it's the fact that any hero can do anything that's needed at any given moment. Jo can do damage, but he can also start a fight with open wounds. He can also escape with rage. He can do stuff like this. Jump in Demon, who does have that Blink Dagger done now. Talked about this during the draft. This is going to be his preferred method of entering a fight most of the time. You have Fear, who can still spells it up. Hang on, he's going to go ahead and jump out on Korok. There's the Infest out, open wounds. Now the Surge is there, but great Sprout. However, Bambo ends up dropping along with Demon. The power of Rocket Barrage is just not something that can be slept on, and they're going to get Rubik as well. So you want to talk about robust Dota? I think TC just showed it to us. The Rage TP from Jo is going to get him away, and TC is just hitting so damn hard right now. He's already picked up a Helm of the Dominator to go with his Shadow Blade, so he has survivability now. He has the extra armor, the lifesteal, and so forth. And we just saw the strength of maxed out Rocket Barrage. Rocket Barrage, max level, does 690 damage. You can split that on one target or on as many as you want. And right there, we just saw those guys melt to death. I just heard a hook connect. Oh, there we go. Yeah, okay, Bulba. Just go for it, brother. And, oh, good vacuum. But Bulba re-engaged upon now. We're going to see him cleaned up. Now Sprout caught 2. They're both locked in. Can they get the kill? No, the wall goes down, and the cooldown's going to get everybody. Almost a total wipe. Only Fear still up and standing, and just barely, as he limps away from that battle. And don't put it past TC to pick on a crippled man. Limping away from the battle, not limping fast enough. TC notching a 15-minute ultra kill at a game that EG seemed to be in control of. Suddenly going heavily in the direction of Team Liquid. And what I was trying to say about EG's lineup is they have a lineup that I would call robust in that they can just about, you know, any hero can do any number of things to help the team in a team fight. You don't have things quite as narrowly constrained as you do with Liquid's lineup. And this is what I would usually call a thin lineup. And thin doesn't necessarily mean bad. But look at it this way. Let's say Darkseer misses his wall and his vacuum. Let's say Nyx Assassin gets blown up in a fight or misses his impale. 1 or 2 missed abilities for Liquid just cripples their team fight. But as is a trademark of what lineups and what I would define most thin lineups of being, when they do put it all together, when they do execute, they tend to just be unstoppable. And I guess you could kind of group that in with something Draskell and I have always talked a lot about during our D2L broadcast, which is ease of execution. EG's ease of execution is much higher than Liquid's. But Liquid, when all the pieces are put together, tends to be a much prettier picture. And we just saw that in action there. TC has his BKB now to go with his Helm of the Dominator and Shadowblade. Korok's already feeling large and in charge. He got a Force Staff, which is such an excellent pickup. It is so smart to pick that item up against this team. TA with her side traps has to close distance and stay on top of you. Lifestealer with open wounds has to close distance and stay on top of you. How do you cope with that? A little purple guy who not only can surge you out of trouble, but can Force Staff you out of trouble as well. That is just such a smart pickup from Korok. Fluff actually might be getting one as well. He's got a Staff of Wizardry. Of course, that could be on the way to a Dagon. I'd be a little surprised to see that, but it could very well be. Never mind. I just noticed he had a Ring of Regen, which means it will be a Force Staff. Back to EG. Melk still well short of a mech. And, you know, this is one of those situations. For the longest time, you saw Furion. He was almost always going to be the guy building the mech. In this case, we see Bambo's building a Shadow Blade. He's already got the Claymore. Mech is such a more important item. And granted, I mean, yeah, I'm sure when they made that decision, they were thinking, we're ahead. We should have no problem farming these items up. But I really, even if you transition to a carry later, I really prefer mech on a Nature's Prophet over just about any other hero. Just because he is always going to get it up quickly. And mech is one of those items that never stops being good, but there's no doubt about it. It has a much bigger influence on your team fight and your punching power at 15 minutes than it does at 35 minutes. I mean, I don't think anyone's going to debate that. Taking a look at where our Lifestealer sits, he's got his armlet, his phase, and 1,000 gold in the bank. He might be getting a set of drums as he added a bracer. Drums not a bad pickup, going to help with mobility, you know. I mean, drums is just an all-around good item on any carry. Demon is going to be going survivability with a BKB. We're going to see Tier 1 attempting to be traded to a Tier 2. Glyph is going to be popped by EG. Let's see if they want to contest this. It does not appear that they will, so just trying to buy time as they move their way to the top Tier 2. This might be a little bit of wishful thinking. Hell, Liquid looks like, yeah, they're just going to say fine. Tier 1 for Tier 2, we're fine with that. And if our maths are correct, we're okay with Tier 3 for Tier 2 as well. Now there's a hook from Bulba. Melk gonna be the target, vacuumed and killed off immediately. Fear managed to get cogs. Not a bad skill to have, but he has to get close to use them. Not the easiest thing to do. He is just gonna waddle up. Now there's a telekinesis. Here we go. Drops the cogs, but gonna end up dead because of it. The right-click damage that's coming out of Liquid is just maddening right now. It is just absurd. Fear buys back. They do manage to take down the Tier 2 at top. But I hate to tell you, EG, you are not going to push fast enough. Liquid is going to have no problem responding. They don't have TPs. Holy crap. Bulba doesn't have a TP. Wow, nobody has teleports from Liquid. That's why they're going for it. Nobody has teleports from Liquid. And I do mean no one does.
Radiant's bottom barracks has fallen.
So Liquid, fresh off of that Roshan kill,
Radiant's bottom barracks are under attack.
gets a set of racks. And yeah, I mean, just rotating Korok back enough to slow them down. And just look at how quickly these inventories are filling up. Fluff should have his Force Staff real soon. I mean, same reason it's great on Korok, same reason it's great on him. And Satanic going to be the option for TC. So just building flat-out survivability, which, to tell you the truth, against this team is just so smart. When you look at the real reliable damage output that EG can bank on, it's a Lifestealer and a TA right now in this phase of the game, 21 minutes in. Lifestealer does damage in bursts. That's how the hero's meant to work. He open wounds, he rages, he swipes at you, but then when rage goes away, he's a sitting duck. So he wants to get a lot of work done then. TA, meld's amazing, but it is on a cooldown. You can only use it so much. She melds, she refracts, she starts to auto-attack. Once you burst her refraction down, she's food. And she rarely will you see a TA build attack speed. It's mostly just trying to get the most out of one or two big shots for that exact reason, because of the power of refraction. So how do you cope with that? Survivability items. Mechanism's the obvious. The Force Staff's coming out on Korok and Fluff. So smart, TC. opting after the Shadow Blade, which gave him plenty of mid-game punches. We've already seen him put it through its paces. So he's got his damage built for the mid-game. Now just going pure survivability instead of switching to an MKB or something like that. He just doesn't need any more damage. Because if he can reliably survive through most of the burst, Bambo, even with the Shadow Blade, he's just not that reliable at the moment. 22 minutes in, one set of racks in favor of Liquid. Let's look at our gold graph. EG was leading by about 2,500. That lead turned around and doubled up as Liquid now leads in excess of 5,000, I should say. 7,500 experience. Looks like they want to go ahead and try to crack the base. And Hook comes out. Bulba took a shot. Now Ice Path catches a couple. They're going to go ahead and telekinese Korok. And there's the Impale as well. Here comes the call down and the Rocket Flare as well. Demon's in trouble, taking a lot of right click. Vacuum back! Brought him back, and Korok gets the wall down as well. We can see them scrambling. But Liquid is a little bunched up. They do pop the mech, so they're back up and in fighting shape. And TC just fighting through. Fear, just look how much damage he's taking from Flag Cannon. Vendetta cleans him up. And Liquid might be about ready to close this game out in very quick fashion. I just don't know what they can do. Treants come out, but hell, the tier 3's already gone. Here comes Fear, ready to engage. He's going to go ahead, but Cogs shut him down, and they're trying to re-engage onto him. The tier 3's down. And, I mean, the right click from TA isn't even that scary anymore. It's just being shrugged off. Ice Path off the mark, but Liquid has yet to abandon the siege. TC has call down, back off cooldown. Still has Aegis up for at least a little while. And now the re-engagement. They're going to go on Korok. Cogs go down, though. And Jeo now turning his attention to TC. There's a good vacuum, though. Stolen by Rubik. That might be enough to force them off. TC, though, not giving up the ghost. And just heard another hook. That's going to connect on Fear. He's going to be sent back to the well. Now Demon tries to engage, eats an Impale, and will be cleaned up immediately. Rocket Barrage just eats through Refraction, just melting him. Bambo pops the ulti, but it's not going to be enough to save the racks. And EG, who had beaten Liquid 2-0 in their previous two meetings in the last week, now finds themselves down 2 sets of racks. And EG has a gigantic lead. Satanic in the inventory of TC. Still has an Aegis for, actually that Aegis should be fading like now. Yep, it just faded, I think. Yep, just went away. I'll tell you what, man. Yeah, you know, Liquid's a great team to begin with. But I really think their invitation to the International is making a difference. Having that weight off your shoulders, knowing that you're going to the biggest tournament in the world, that's got to allow you to relax a little bit. That's got to give, that's got to give you some room to breathe. And more so than that, allow you to play with a little bit of swagger. Come into a match like this where it's like, yeah, EG beat you 2 of the last 3. But you're, at this point you can just go, you know what, but it doesn't matter. We're going to Seattle. EG hasn't gotten their invitation yet. We're one of the best teams in the world, so why don't we just go out, have fun, and play Liquid Dota? And that's exactly what they've done here. They all have heroes that are well within their command. TC, one of the better gyrocopter players you're going to see. Darkseer handled very expertly by Korok. Nyx Assassin played by Fluff. Bulba, who is, I honestly think, might be the best Clockwork outside of China. And IX Mike, who is such a smart and crafty Shadow Demon player. Their lineup doesn't have as much as immediacy, as much head-up punching power, as much robust punching power as EG's, at least on paper. But they don't have to. They got themselves a lead by playing Liquid Dota. And I love the way they've executed this. EG might be down to their final moments. We see Demon has a passenger inside of him. He's added Assange to his inventory, believe it or not. Maelstrom wants to pick up for Bambo. And now they're going to engage. He might be able to get TC. He does end up dropping. Korok's going to end up dropping as well. So now EG showing they still have some fight left in them. Disruption from Mike by some time. And Fluff trying to get away. Might have a chance. Mike not so lucky as he gets blocked off by his own creeps. So EG able to hold the line at least momentarily. This whole time, though, already the tier 4 is being whittled down by the creeps here in mid. You're just tuning in. We're 26 minutes into this game 1 of this best of 3. EG versus Liquid, a North American showdown. Winner go home for both teams. EG in their last 2 meetings, including a meeting already in the winner's bracket of the G-1 Western Qualifier, they've bested Liquid, but Liquid well in command of their fate. We can see that when registering for EG, still quite a bit behind in terms of experience and gold, and having 2 racks down makes it so hard to really pin your hopes on the late game, especially against a gyrocopter. Jo has gone the cookie-cutter Deso build. Don't hate that at all. I mean, he has TA to help take the pressure off of him in terms of being the only real damage dealer. That's always nice. And Halberd might be the choice for Demon. Just try to take TC out of the fight. And that kind of comes down to what I was talking about. And, you know, that last fight, we saw exactly what I mean when I say a lineup's robust as compared to thin. As soon as TC dropped, Liquid can't fight anymore. You know, if TC dies in a fight, which at this point should not be happening much, to be honest. But if he dies in a fight, Liquid's entire composition falls apart. Whereas EG can lose a TA and still not lose a fight. EG can, you know, so they can't lose everyone, obviously. But they can lose pieces of their puzzle and still have a clear picture. Bambo sitting on 2,500 gold. He's got his Maelstrom, which is an interesting choice. Honestly, given how dependent Liquid is on TC for consistent damage, especially at this stage of the game, I'm a little surprised he didn't just go ahead and rush Scythe of Ice. I mean, yeah, he has a BKB, but those BKB charges are going to be getting shorter and shorter. It's already down to 8 seconds now. And Korok, speaking of Scythe of Ice, might be getting a Scythe or Shivas. We'll have to wait and see. He's already got his Mystic Staff, so we'll find out soon. But Bambo's next item pickup, he's got enough for a Mystic Staff now. Jo, 1,400 gold in the bank. Still opting not to get his drums. Don't know that he will at this point. Investing instead into the Desolator. And Liquid, for the second time this game, going to take a run at Roshan. Now, this is where EG could capitalize. Getting them grouped up like this in a vulnerable spot, bring down 1 or 2 heroes, and that thin lineup will collapse, like we saw happen just at the Tier 3. Fluff is tanking himself up. He's picked up a Vitality booster, actually. And TC is building damage now. And usually you don't see lifesteal come out before damage. But in this case, again, TC making the wise choice, I think. And there's an Ice Path. And if they're going to challenge it, they're going to have to go now. We see the dust go off, and now we're going to have a wall go down. Fear manages to get something, but he's vacuumed back. We're going to see the Aegis go down, and it's picked up by Prophet. They managed to take it away, and TC's in big, big trouble. He has to run. Korok's going to be cleaned up. Beautiful play from EG as they came in the back door into the Roche pit and were able to take the Aegis away. We're going to see the Aegis popped immediately as Liquid re-engages, though. Fluff's there. Jo's on the high ground. Ice Path locks him in. Bambo, who stole the Aegis, will Shadow Blade his way out. In the end, it turns out to be a 2-2 trade. Really nice movement. As Prophet TP'd in, Demon blinked in, Jo was there inside of him. Could not have done it better. And Bambo losing the Aegis, but at the very least preventing Liquid from taking it. 30 minutes into the game, and EG, as behind as they are, as dire as this map seems to be, with no outer tier towers remaining and 2 sets of racks missing, they're actually cutting into this gold lead and experience lead. In fact, they've damn near cut them both in half. Now, this is where things have to get scary if you're Liquid. Again, back to those words, robust and thin. Liquid's lineup, when they lose TC, they are really thin. They have to have everything go right. They have to initiate on their terms. The hooks have to be hit. Nyx has to run through his cycle. Demonic Purge, Disruption, Soul Catcher, all has to be money in the bank. If one piece of that doesn't go as planned, EG's lineup has the potential to just run over top of them. And the late game actually favors EG. Bambo has added an ultimate orb. So we'll see what he wants to do with it. Again, Scythe of Ice, I think, would be the optimal choice, especially as those BKB charges get shorter and shorter. Already down to 7 seconds. But, you know, TA can do late game damage. She's not a late game carry by most people's standards, but the armor reduction on Meld's always going to be good. Just as a pure method of conveyance to get Lifestealer on top of TC, she contributes a lot in that regard. And I would imagine JO is going to get himself a Basher next. That would make the most sense, to get on top of TC, try to bash him out. MKB is going to be the choice for TC as he's out of the Javelin now. Bulba got himself a Scepter and a Force Staff. So his survivability is up there. Force Staff again on Fluff. Still keeping an eye on Bambo. He's not far from a Scythe, really. And Korok hasn't really shown us anything unless he's got something in the base. Yeah, he's going to be getting a Scythe of Ice. They might get 2. Or they might do something different with Prophet. But for now, we can already see he is doing some damage. Not the most, hitting for about 160 a shot, give or take. But that's, you know, he's starting to shore up one of the weaknesses that EG's lineup had that I had talked about, was they are kind of dependent. They were in the early game dependent on being able to do a lot of damage in a spurt. But now a little bit more consistent right click.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
And Bambo doing some split pushing of his own down there. That's going to prompt Liquid to rattle their saber here in mid a bit more. Bulba moving up the top while the rest of the team stays in mid. Jo is nowhere near the fight right now. Looks like he wants to hook up with Prophet to get back home. He's got a TP, could come right now. And Bambo might just TP him right in the middle of the fight. That's what we're going to see almost certainly, is Jo hook up. And TA did finish her halberd. So they had, nope, he is just going to TP actually. Thought he was going to hook up right inside the Prophet. But with halberd done, they have a lot to try and take him out. Scythe of Ice was the pickup on the Prophet as well.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
And Bambo still hanging around. And here we go. There's a hook that's going to connect. He's going to be able to catch Milk. No, he's going to be force staffed out. There's an ice path and the re-engagement. They've got 2. TC is at good distance, though. Jo seems to be in trouble, eating a lot of damage. TC taking through it all. Has not used his Satanic yet. Might use it soon. Nope, still doesn't have to activate it. Buyback from Jo. This is their last chance. They're going to have to get up and fight real hard right now. And there we go. There's a Scythe of Ice on TC. Can they bring it down? TP reactions are coming in. Fear's there. They're going to try to pursue him out. Fear looking for a target. Hurt an open wounds, but Bulba going to be telekinesis outside of that. He drops the cogs. Jo, though, going to be happy about that. Disruption not enough to buy the time, and another good ice path caught 2. TC now the target. TC going one-on-one and winning. TC used his Reaver. Excuse me, used his Satanic. Jo going to clean up the Shadow Demon, but TC will make it a triple kill as he survives. The Demon now re-engaging back out, has the halberd ready to go if he wants to try and pursue him. EG lost to tier 3 but managed to hang on a little bit longer. An absolute back and forth slugfest. At either point felt like either one of those teams could have won or lost the game. But again, EG slowly and surely cutting into the gold and the experience lead. They are so far behind. At least in practical terms. Lacking 2 racks in bottom and mid. But they're hanging in. They're counting on this lineup to go through a period of maturation, which is what we're beginning to see. Again, the importance of that Scythe of Ice showing itself. Halberd, great pickup. We'll see what Fear wants to add to his inventory next. Melk, with his mech, his Ghost Scepter, has a gem as well. Now, if you're in Liquid shoes here, you've got to be feeling a little bit of urgency. You've got to be starting to worry at least a little bit. They were way ahead, but where things turned around for them. 2 major points in this game, things kind of started to go wrong. Now, they're still in a comfortable lead, make no mistake, still their game to win or to lose. But whenever they overextended a bit here, trying to push this top tier 3 after they had cleared 2 racks, that hurt them badly. The Roshan engagement hurt them badly. We're just going to have to find out if EG has bought themselves enough time to play their way back into this game. Or if Liquid is going to be able to make it work. There's a hook that's going to come in. They're going to catch Milk. There go the cogs. And it looks like Fear Man should get him. Ice Path's going to catch shoot. Scythe of Ice on TC. And the vacuum brings him back into the wall. TC still alive. They're going to be able to clean up the supports pretty easily. Mech's going to be used. And now Jo trying to rage through it. Cooldown's there, but TC saved by the vacuum and by the disruption of IX Mike. TC was in so much trouble. But bailed out by his buddies. That's going to be Mega Creeps. Phenomenal play from Korok and IX Mike. Remember what I said. More games are won by support play than by carry play. TC with the Talisman of Evasion just doesn't care. Now Demon going to be hexed out. He's going to eat the full entirety of that damage. And the GGs come out. Oh, what a play. What a play. More than Mike, because he might have been the difference maker there. Korok, a big play as well. And Liquid, after being defeated 0-2, in their last 2 matches. So they were 0-4 against Liquid up until right now in the last week. Managed to bounce back and bounce back hard. Here in game number 1 of this best of 3. 36 minutes, 27 seconds, the official game time. 15-28, the final kill score, and Liquid searching for redemption of their own. 1 win away from getting some payback against their rivals and Evil Geniuses. EG, though, gonna be looking to turn that bagel into a breadstick and give us a game 3. I'm AC. You're here on One More Game TV2. Hope you guys are having as much fun as I am. This is your first time here. Make sure you hit follow. And make sure you stay locked because we got game 2 of this best of 3 coming up next.